Wait. Before you start this video, I just wanted to tell you that this is not the same as other yandere mangas. It's actually break my mental state. So if you are a sensitive person, so don't watch this video. You can check out my other ones and you are mentally prepared. So throw on your headphones, turn off the lights, grab some snacks, and let's start the video. The day was bright when a mother and her child came across a cat that was sleeping on the side of the bushes. When the little boy requested to touch the cat, its body was cold as soon as he caressed it. Then his mother checked and stated that it was dead. When asked why it was dead, his mother only looked upon him and gave him a little smile. On a certain day, this young boy, whose name was Seiichi, was sleeping soundly on his bed while his mother, Seiko, kept calling for him. After seeing him still asleep, she went and sat beside him and tickled him by his neck, to which he immediately got up. As soon as he sat up, his mother asked if he'd like a steamed meat bun or the steamed red bean bun. He still looked pretty sleepy but told her that he wanted a steamed meat bun. Later, after he was told to go downstairs, his father Ichiro was standing by the table getting prepared for work. Seiichi then sat down as his mother laid his breakfast in front of him. Then the father informed his wife that he would be drinking with his coworkers, to which his wife asked if he would come home late. Ichiro told her that he would keep them company since he didn't plan on sticking with them for much longer. Eventually, the father picked off and left the house. When he left, Seiko was watching a weather forecast while he gazed upon her, probably mesmerized by something. Then his mother turned and told him that today was going to be a hot and humid day, which also reminded her that she saw Seiichi's swimsuit name tag was fading, so she decided to write it out for him. Later, Seiichi went to the streets to go to his school, but suddenly one of his classmates purposely decked him from the back. "Yo man," two other friends then casually walked up to them as one of the kids noticed that today's weather was going to be hot. When they asked Seiichi what they'd have in the first session, he told them that they'd be studying Japanese. Then the nameless glasses kid followed up with another question and asked them if they wore their swimsuits underneath their shirts, to which they did. But when he asked Seiichi if he'd also wear his swimsuit, he pulled his pants down, which caught him by surprise. The other kids played along and kept trying to mess with Seiichi. Later, inside the classroom, it was cramped with students who were busy talking to their respective groups, all while Seiichi was just looking at the girl in the distance as she was talking to her friend. When she turned over to Seiichi, he swayed his eyes away from her. Then he casually looked back at her, blushing. "Bro, I think she is interested in you." At the swimming pool, Seiichi's group walked by the showering area when he saw the same girl talking to another guy. Knowing that he had to step up, he decided to poke fun at them by shouting that Fukishi was talking to a boy. "And we know this girl's name." While he waited, Fukishi surprised him by surprise, completely pissing himself. "It's just a metaphor, alright." When he saw her run off, he couldn't help but crack a weird smile upon seeing her playful side. Then Seiichi's friends approached him and asked what he was doing just standing there. They informed him that they were planning on going out to eat pork ramen the next weekend. It was an eventful day as the group separated ways, excited for tomorrow to meet up at their friend's house. Back at Seiichi's house, he welcomed himself back and was greeted by his mother. When Seiichi grabbed food from the table, Seiko told him that his aunt and cousin would be coming home the next day. When she asked him if he had any plans with his friends, Seiichi didn't hesitate and told her that he would just cancel his plans. Even though it was all right for Seiko's son to go somewhere, her son wasn't bothered at all and still decided to cancel his plans with his friends for tomorrow. That night, while they were eating in the living room, something reminded Seiichi, and he told his mother that he had a certain dream last night. Inside that dream, Seiichi and his mother were walking down the street when they saw a cat sleeping on the end of the road. It was cold enough to confirm that it was already dead. After the story, his mother looked surprised when she realized that Seiichi had actually remembered that it was from his youngest memory since he was just 2 years old. Seiko was astonished when she recalled the exact detail in that memory since it was 11 years ago, back when Seiichi was just a small child. His mother then proceeded to place her hands gently on Seiichi's head as she carried a lovely smile on her face. Seiichi broke from her grasp, unable to bear the embarrassment. Well, I guess it's normal, when he was about to leave. His mother wondered how the cat had died that day, but even Seiichi could only say that it might be because it was hit by a car. The next day, and like every day, Seiichi would always start his morning by greeting his mom. After greeting Seiichi back, Seiko offered him a choice for his breakfast, like yesterday. Still, he chose the steamed meat bun. Then he was greeted by his father, Ichiro, getting prepared for work again. Seiichi was confused, as he was certain that his father didn't have a job this weekend. But his father said that he was just going to complete his leftover work. But what are you having for lunch? His wife asked. Since Seiichi's aunt and cousin were coming, she was hoping that he would come back to eat lunch with them. Ichiro had an idea and told her to simply order them some udon when he came back for lunch. When his father was about to leave the house, he looked upon Seiichi with a smile, happy to know that he got along with his cousin, Shigeru. After his dad left, Seiko went to clean the house while Seiichi was observing her. As she was cleaning, their doorbell rang, signaling the visitor's arrival. Under the unbearable heat, Seiichi's aunt was relieved to have finally arrived at their house and met the family. When she asked Seiichi how he had been doing today, he gladly replied saying, "It's been good." Then, as soon as they entered the house, Shigeru wasted no time and invited him to play in Seishi's room. When they walked upstairs, Seishi saw his mother and his aunt having a wonderful chat with one another. Sometime later, the two locked their eyes on the screen, somewhat enjoying their playtime together. Shigeru beats Seishi easily and teases him by calling him weak. As for his punishment, Shigeru flicked his forehead. But hey, at least they're having the time of their life. After the first game, Shigeru went to look for another game they could play, and on the spot, Shigeru mocked him, calling Seishi a mama's boy, which confused him. He meant that his mother was too overprotective because he had already seen that Seishi's mother was clingy to him. Seishi couldn't believe what he was hearing. But not only that, Shigeru knew that his mother was also the type to stand at the back of the classroom since he was at his preschool. During that time, Seishi had known that she was there only because he was always crying since he didn't like coming to preschool. "I think it's normal." Shigeru kept on insisting as he laughed about it, but Seishi had enough of it and told him not to badmouth his mother any further. Seeing how serious Seishi was, Shigeru cracks up and tells him that he was just kidding around. After a quick dispute, the two eventually got back to playing their next game. Later, both families were having quality time as they enjoyed their dinner together. Then Seishi was told by his aunt to have a share of the food they have. As they were eating, Shigeru told Seishi that he wanted to play again tomorrow. When Shigeru asked his mother if he could, she told him that they'd been coming here all the time. Hearing this, Seiko gladly welcomes them as they're free to drop by any time. Now that they're allowed to, Seishi's aunt asked Shigeru if he'd like to come again, to which he affirms. After a moment of silence, his aunt was reminded of something as she cracked up a goofy smile, asking them if they were planning on having a summer vacation. She stated that her father wanted to go hiking with the family, and while they're at it, they plan on stopping by at a hot spring. As soon as she mentioned the hot springs, Seishi's parents found themselves fascinated by it. Seishi captivates himself with his food while his aunt and his parents recall their fun memories where they used to take baths together in the hot spring. After a while, his cousin and aunt had eventually left, as Seishi saw them off with his mother. When they left, Seiko told Seishi to come back inside, but he hesitated for a moment. When she noticed that Seishi seemed down, she went back to him to check what was wrong. Seishi said that it was nothing at all, and his mother proceeded to poke him, wishing to know what he had in his mind. In a shy tone, Seishi thanked his mother for everything she had done. Seiko was so happy, she kissed Seishi on his cheek, which caught him off guard, making him embarrassed. Seiko was relieved to have heard those words from him and thanked her son. After that day, Shigeru and his mom started coming over to Seishi's house every week, always spending time with one another. Inside the school, their teacher dismisses the class while also letting them know to keep a high spirit during their summer vacation. When the class was about to head out, Seishi's friends invited him to walk home with them. The question was overshadowed when he was asked what grades he got in the report card, to which Seishi told them that he got an average. As they argued for a bit, Fukishi and her friend were seen discussing something secretly from behind their backs. Later, as they walked down the street, the glasses kid wanted to meet up with them at his place to play some games. But Seishi couldn't come along since his cousin always comes over to his house. In an unfortunate moment, the group separates as Seishi walks his own way home. But to his surprise, he coincidentally bumps into the girls who seemed like they were looking for him. When asked what they wanted, Fukishi's friend told him that she wanted to walk home with him. Seishi was confused as Fukishi was shy, and as they were standing, her friend left her to be alone with Seishi. Now that they're alone together, Fukishi asked Seishi if it was all right to come along with him, and he guaranteed it. Under the sunny clouds, the two walked beside each other, unable to utter a word, probably because they are shy. All of a sudden, Fukishi notices a cat in the middle of the street. As she pets the cat, Seishi looks somewhat nostalgic about it. Then Fukishi asked him if she could come over next time, but Seishi was a little confused. She meant that she wanted to go to his house, to which Seishi looked embarrassed as he questioned the reason. Fukishi just trying to fun at him by telling him not to expect anything, which made Seishi sway his head away in embarrassment. When she asked him again, Seishi thought she was just joking. No bro, she is serious. You doesn't see that blush on her cheeks. Silence grew all around them until Seishi explained that he has to ask permission from his mom first, since his cousin always comes over. Fukishi rolls with it and tells Seishi to give her an update when he gets an answer, and with that, it was declared as their first date. When Seishi arrived home, he was greeted by his mother and was inquired about the results of his report card. An Asian household indeed. After he handed it out, Seiko puts a smile on her face as she pats Seishi on the head, proud that he got mostly A grades in his class. She started caressing him by his cheeks and noticed that he was unusually quiet this time round. She knew something was up, and Seishi asked if he could let his friend come over, insisting only when his aunt and cousin aren't here at the moment. His mother was okay with it, but she reminded him that the family are going on a trip this summer, so she thought it'd be best if he could invite them over after the trip. Seeing Seishi get his request turned down, his mother apologized for it. When he went upstairs, Seiko compensated him by offering him stew for lunch, which brightened up Seishi for the moment. As he smiled, Seiko noticed this and asked why he looked so happy today, wanting to know if anything nice happened to him recently. He tells her that there is nothing special at all and eventually goes up to his room, leaving his mother confused. Out in the woods, Seishi and Shigeru's family met up at their designated spot, just in the clear of the mountain. The two families shared their thoughts about how nice the weather was. Shigeru noticed that his grandpa was using a trekking pole and showed interest in it. So, in response, he thought he'd give his grandson his spare. Ichiro's cousin saw him smoking and wondered if he's out of shape for that, but was told he can handle himself just fine. Then Shigeru's grandpa decided to have some fun for a while and thought that they should hang out in an inn later and crack a cold one with the boys. After a quick meet-up, the family eventually set out on a journey through the steep field inside the woods. Some of them seemed already out of breath, as Shigeru and his mother showed signs of struggle, but his grandpa was relentless and told them to push onwards. Seiko was stunned to realize that her mother persevered despite her age, but she was told not to worry about it and keep moving. As for Seishi, his cousin called out to him, which caused his competitive side to rise up, and he was able to pass by his parents. Even his aunt was amazed. He then offers his hand to him, so Seishi reaches for it and is pulled up. After that, Shigeru gave Seishi a long stick to use as a trekking pole, and eventually, they continued hiking. As Seiko looked up at them, seemingly relieved that Seishi was safe, a little further into their trip, the family took a break on a small rock cliff, trying to get a breeze of fresh air. While Seiichi observed the family having fun together, he remembered the scene from back then where Seiko was made fun of. His mother suddenly called out to him if he wanted to eat a rice ball, but Seiichi declined the offer since he wasn't hungry for now. Suddenly, Shigeru walked toward the both of them and asked Seiichi if he wanted to come along to pee with him, which made him uncomfortable. Shigeru's mother told them to go toward the other side if they were going to do it, so Shigeru was excited while Seiichi obviously felt bothered about something. After a while, the both of them answered. Then doing pee in the bushes and comparing each other's size, but Seiichi was still feeling awkward about them making fun of his mother. The silence was interrupted as Shigeru told him that the both of them should cross streams, and they actually did. Seiichi felt ashamed, so he turned to the other side, which made Shigeru a bit irritated. As a way to enjoy their time even further, Shigeru wanted Seiichi to come along with his exploration, which made him worried. But Shigeru reassured him that everything would be all right, so they set forth and kept walking until Seiichi noticed a big tree and looked, "This art style, it's amazing, I mean you can take screenshot of this." But that tree gave him the creeps since he didn't know where the both of them were going. And here is an advice to my viewers: if you don't know where you are going, just don't go. I know it's useless advice. Anyway. Eventually, the both of them found a cliff higher than last time with a breathtaking view. Shigeru decided to invite Seiichi to also take a good look, but he refused, knowing that he'll get pushed again. Shigeru made it clear that the beef was already squashed, but Seiichi was still not having any of it, which made Shigeru annoyed. Suddenly, Seiko popped up beside Seiichi. "Oh man, just look at her face art style made me uncomfortable." Seiko inquired about their venture while Shigeru was creeped out, not knowing how the both of them got found despite taking a long stroll. Seiichi's mother warned Shigeru to stop standing at the cliff's edge since it was dangerous. But Shigeru, being the daring child that he is, danced at the cliff. "Come on you dumb," because of his actions, Seiko frightened. He continued dancing, but one misstep was all it took for him to trip. Thankfully, Seiichi's mother managed to step in and catch him while Shigeru was within a hold of Seiko's arms. A bunch of butterflies began to swarm around her, implying her insanity was about to take over. Seiko reminded him to be careful, but on the spur of the moment, Seiichi noticed something wrong. As Shigeru tried to get himself out, he noticed something wrong with Seiichi's mother, and from here the horrific tragedies stared in Seiichi's life. Seiko pushed Shigeru off a cliff with no hesitation. Okay, now it's confirmed, she is not Yandere, but also psychopath. Seiichi was speechless after noticing the wicked act committed by his mother in front of him. Eventually, his mother slowly turned his face to look at him, just to give the same look from 11 years ago. And fucked how she can give him that smile after doing that.
Hey yo, what the fuck?